Welcome to our podcast, no? Alan Victoria. This is our first episode of our podcast on what we wanted to talk about.
Today we're going to first talk about how business masters master themselves and how mastering ourselves and going internally will help us really grow our businesses externally, which is a little weird to say, but it's the truth. And if you're going to start building a business plan like you should, how do you build a business plan? By going inside to understand working on yourself, working on your business.
Exactly. Therefore, we're going to go really a little bit deeper, no?
Mm-hmm. Because and we'll get more into this.
Talk.
Right. And let's introduce ourselves a little bit, right?
Yes.
So we're both experienced real estate agents. Before that, I was a lawyer, a teacher. I worked in engineering very briefly. Lots of information that I've always liked education. I've always loved learning. I've always loved growing. And starting I was also a USA Today bestselling author. And I love learning. I love talking about how I grow my businesses and really, really kind of growing. What about you?
Yes, I also have a background in physics.
Right.
No? Therefore, I have a PhD in physics and
a successful real estate agent.
And basically, I had, like you, we were both college and university faculty in the past, and we came to this realization that really we wanted to change the way that we live. No?
Well, yeah, we wanted to work for ourselves, and I think that is super, super important. So we wanted to be more. I was already growing to be business minded. Growing as a partnership kind of was a great learning thing for both of us as well, and really, really working on ourselves and working on our inner light. I don't know how else to say it. Our inner light really kind of helps us grow our business outside.
Exactly. And one thing that always is also challenged me, or I was thinking about it, is really all of us in some level, we're searching for the comfort zone, no? Mm-hmm. In our relationship, in our work, wherever we're doing, whatever we're doing, which direction we're going, we like to always be in comfort zone. And sometimes that's not going to serve us. And for us, being as some people that we were working for others and then working for ourselves also was a step that takes us out of the comfort zone.
Right. I mean, it's a big step, but also working every day on those small things that we bring a little comfort into our lives can actually help us well. So let's talk about a little bit of what happened in one of my deals. Right. This was my deal, but it's really our deal because he met the client. I never even met them, which is the funniest thing. But anyway, let's talk about this deal. This guy.
Therefore, we are talking about real life story.
Real life story. We'll name this guy Bob. All right, just give him a fake name.
John Day? No, sorry.
Bob. We'll call him Bob. Okay, so Bob literally told me 3 times, I definitely don't want to work with you. I don't want a real estate agent. No problem.
Exactly.
I do not force myself on clients who do not want to work with me. I assumed that Bob was gone. Like, I was not going to work with him at all.
Exactly.
No problem. I can find other people who I want to work with rather than being told that he wants to work with me. And then when I would say, hey, do you want to work? He'd be like, no. Which is why I had 3 conversations of him telling me no, because the lender would say he wants to work with you. And I'd be like, oh, you want to work with me? He said no. So I'm like, okay, I won't call you again. No problem. So anyway, understanding that I can say to myself with certainty that another deal is going to come along. And I believe that this is not my only deal out there. I don't need to work with Bob 100%. In fact, if I held on to why doesn't Bob want to work with me, I probably would have stopped the deal from ever actually happening. No, I said, no, I don't work with people who don't want to work with me. That is 100% not my style, not who I am. I don't want to do that. So what I would do instead was say, okay, no problem. I have certainty that I will find another deal. I don't need to work with Bob. No problem. And I have to let go of my ego holding on to any sort of deal and saying and believing that a future is there and it's going to be fine. And then what happened with Bob?
It just came to your way.
He ended up working with me. He bought a house. We closed on the house. My husband was at the closing deal. And funny enough, my husband's the one who actually physically met Bob in person. I didn't actually meet Bob in person at the beginning or the end. He told me no on the phone, but I worked that deal a lot.
This was one of the lessons that they call it say it and forget it. That most of us, we have that problem. Let's be honest, no? Most of us, including us, sometimes we get so attached to the result of the scenario or a story that we are working in our life story that we cannot see the bigger picture. And as a result, we stuck with that and comes with the frustration.
And then when we hold on and say, oh, this deal, why am I not getting this deal? I'm actually stopping myself from getting other deals, other ways in order so I can focus my energy to say, hey, maybe Bob isn't working out, but maybe Dana is going to be amazing. I'm just making up another name here. So I have to just go down the line and say, hey, there's other deals out there, but I have to believe that in my soul and not hold on. And
therefore, you went deep into your soul. That's correct.
Right, because it's a miracle that we actually got Bob to the closing table and he got this house anyway.
Therefore, the lesson
100%.
was really trust.
Right, you have to trust the universe.
Trust, we are different beliefs sometimes, but believe in the universe. What we put out there is going to come back to us.
Right. Now, a couple things about being with business and life and the architecture of like how business deals and business masters are out there. And we studied Napoleon Hill. You love Wayne Dyer,
Louisa Hay.
Those are his favorites. We studied all the masters that we can possibly find. I love tons of books. I can tell you a million. I can think of one in my head. I can't say the name of it. But either way, classic.
Richest Man in the
that's a good
Babylon.
one too. Okay, so we've studied all of these things. But basically, there's a concept here that's universal. And I'm going to also mention the word God because God is important to mention here because it might be how you see it as universal. It might be God. It might be something that is bigger than us. It's something that we are not. We are strings theory, right? Who's pulling the strings with string theory, right? Because we're all connected in some way.
Yes.
So when we look at it this way, we can see that life is not a random series of events. Life is not random, especially when you're business and purposeful minded. You cannot say life is random and these tragedies or these horrible things continue to happen to me because that's not how you build a business. That's not how you build your life. So we have to believe step one, it is completely not random in life. Things happen for a reason. And you want to talk about
I think part of it also is depersonalized things because most of the time that we have put the labels in most of our life, that's what Wayne Dyer says in the Tao Te Ching or Change Your Mind in the verse 13. Sometimes when we put the labels on things that every day happens to us, then we have really trusting issue, no?
Right, but why
and we think
random?
Anything happened just to me, nobody else.
We're having two conversations.
Okay.
So with what I want to go back to is life is not random.
Exactly.
Now, there are 50,000 thoughts that we typically have in a day, 50 to 100,000 thoughts we have in a day. 5,000 to 10,000 words we have in a day. And then 500 to 1,000 small actions. And an action can be picking up my phone. It can be whatever it is that I'm doing in a day. And all of those things, our thoughts, our words, our actions, create a series of events, or they pull a certain string, or it sets off something in motion, and we don't see it. We do not see what we've done to our own selves later on when something happens and we're like, wow, why did that happen? Well, we have to look in the past and see what did we do in order for this. So life is completely not random.
And the reason that we're saying that is not random, because everything that happens, we notice, many of us, during the day, during a year, that many things similar happens to our life, not because everybody or the universe wanted to punish us, because we need to change. We need to way that we live to change. And that's why it comes with the lesson. And when we pass the lesson, the scenario is going to change.
Right. And I also want to point out with this that everybody is a one in a billion story, 1 in 6 billion story, because we all have miracles that happen in our lives. Exactly. It's not just horrible things that happen. It's miracle things. And if you're a business person, you're thinking, I need a business plan. And you do need a business plan. But how do you come up with a business plan when you're not even working on yourself? So how will your business accomplish your goals if you do not believe that life is not random? So we're going to go back to that as well. So there's a super important relevancy to, I am creating a business. This is my business, my 5-year plan. And really, really believing that life is not random. So it's not just randomly that you're going to, boom, be the $1 million, going to jump up on YouTube and make $1 million. You're not going to be Mr. Beast in a day.
As a result, we came here to also introduce something that we got familiar with when we call it CALE principle.
We did not make up CALE.
Yes, we didn't make the CALE, but we learned about it.
It's consistent and limitless expansion of the universe and ourselves and our souls, which is kind of crazy to talk about, right? So CALE is my soul, my business, my growth, and also the universe consistently and endlessly expanding, right? So it's not just the universe, it's inside me as well. So why are we here to live every single day with purpose, as you were talking about? It's really CALE, because if we have consistent and limitless expansion in all things every single day, then we're looking to change more than we want.
And also, actually, the story of this in most of the holy books, including Bibles and other books, that God basically expand and develop the universe, and the 5 days and the 6 days and the creation finished, then it's going to be the rest. That's what the God in the holy book says. Therefore, somehow this comes with what the principle is, that the God really expanded this universe with bringing, animals, different things, including us.
Right. So if you believe all of this stuff, we're so excited that you're still here with us. So it's not just physical and economic boundaries. It's not just our physical location and our businesses.
Exactly.
It is real world application of like what I do every single day for my business, for my life.
Exactly.
Because if I'm growing my soul and fighting my ego, we're going to talk about what those are in about 30 seconds. But if I'm growing my soul and saying, I need to change, I need to make sure that I am always staying with my purpose and always staying with the purpose of the universe and the soul of what I am meant to do in this world. And I love helping people, which is why I'm a real estate agent, right? Because I get to talk to people every single day. I get to look at them and say, hey, what is it you want? You pick the house, I don't pick the house. But it's kind of fun for me to really kind of put boots in the ground and kind of have a real world conversation with somebody about what their goals and their needs are and how I can help them achieve what they want. But it's also ego driven too. Like, there's a lot of what I don't like to get into with real estate agents is all that ego, like, oh, I closed on this many $1 million houses in the last year, or this million, or this million. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff because that's just inflating my ego, and I don't need to inflate my ego. I'm there to help people.
Well, you are talking basically are in dichotomy of the soul and the ego,
right?
And there is always a paradox,
right,
or paradigm shift that all of us we encounter. We cannot ignore the physicality and what we came for.
Right.
Therefore, these two need to exist beside of each other. But why we need every time we need to shift from one to another to make the way.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the soul versus the ego, right? So the soul is unchangeable, my powerful force of nature. Honestly, here's someone super powerful as an example. It's not economic, but it's just an example. My sister Sabrina, she literally got a kid out of the Ukraine, even though there's a war, and he's a boy, and he's 18, 19, 20, where you're supposed to be in the infantry, literally fighting the war. And my sister said, nope, we're going to take him out. And she literally, borders are closed. Everybody says that's impossible. My sister literally went to the border and got this kid out of Ukraine. And she's an American citizen, same as me. Like, we were born here. But if you have that kind of power all of the time, because in your soul, you are powerful. You can literally stop war in order to get a kid out. Like, I've seen it happen with my own sister. Like, it's just something that your soul...
Which is really, you're talking
it's
about...
powerful.
Crazy desire.
Right. Desire to get out.
Because that is what is the first Napoleon Hill was talking about, the principle of achieving your goal.
Now,
to have a tremendous desire.
Absolutely. But the other part of it is ego, and ego stops us, right? Ego is that, oh, how many $1 million of sales did I have? How powerful I am because I've done all of this work, all of that nonsense. Sorry, it's nonsense. It's really just saying that I am doing all of these things and I am not really connected to my soul and connected to the universe or connected to anything else. It's just saying, oh, I did all these things all by myself because I'm awesome and I rock. right? That ego-driven...
Oh, well, we have the two poles. Sometimes also we have overconfidence, or
which is ego.
we underestimate ourselves.
There's
The
that
other
other part of
side
it
too.
is ego.
Therefore, both of us, we are here to understand that there is a two side of it.
Yeah, let's talk about that other underside, because I love that concept. We should talk about that too, because I do that to myself all the time. I say, I don't know if I can do that. And that's not true. It just means that I don't have the desire to do something like that at this moment. And I just want to point out that, you know, when we talk bad about ourselves, sometimes that's our ego coming in to prevent us from doing something as well.
Which is the ego that you were talking about.
Or it's the opposite of like either overconfidence or underconfidence. And really it has to do with my desire in order to accomplish something. So we all have a powerful soul and a powerful desire to help, to be part of a universe and to be part of the tree, or be part of however you want to say it, which string we're going to pull. But we also have to fight back on our ego and our nature for that. Because
ego, or edge God out, is here always to really divide us or separate us from the source that we came from, that we call it God. You can call it anything that you want it in different, religion and belief, the taught belief. And we wanted to separate us,
Right.
And see, you are not from that. And that's why the paradigm shift is.
Right. So there are 3 principles that go along with the factor of life is not random. You are not a coincidence, and your soul is, well, I got ahead of myself. If life is not random, there are 3 principles that go along with that if you want to make any sort of business deals out there. Number 1, nothing is by coincidence. If I get a call right now of somebody who wants to buy a $2 million house, I'm taking the phone call, of course, but I know that that call is not by accident, it is by design, because I set in motion all of these things for people to contact me in order to go buy the $2 million house. And at 2.5%, what would I make it to on a $2 million house?
50,000.
So in one deal, I can literally say, how does that happen? Because I would get a phone call. And why am I going to get that phone call? Because I set in motion ways for people to contact me. So just nothing is by coincidence. This is business. This is life. Nothing is random. Nothing is by coincidence. Every thought, every word, every action that I take, every single second of the day, which can be overwhelming, right? But nothing is by coincidence. What's the second principle?
And that we are not by a coincidence.
Right. So you yourself, your soul, you have a purpose, you have value, you are here to do something. So we have to make sure our soul's existence and our soul's journey continues until the seconds that our journey ends, right? So every single day, every single moment, we are looking at all of the things that we do every single second, all the words coming out of my mouth right now are going to set up a chain of reactions. And nothing I have done, I am here because I am not a coincidence. And what's the third one?
The third one that is super important, not believing that nothing is in coincidence, including me, embracing the change. That's what we talk and started this podcast, that all of us, we have this duality even inside. We have a physical body and the soul. And that's why when something doesn't work, or we see things that is not in the way that we think should be, I mean, sometimes it's also that is paradigm too.
And that can also be ego.
That's we need to shift inward and see what I need to basically change.
Let's be more honest. When I'm talking about change, I'm like, oh, we can change all of these things. But my actions might speak otherwise. My actions might be like, no, I'm going to have my tea, I'm going to relax, and then I'm going to get to it eventually, right? I get into my habits, that my habits can stop me from change. And that is where I want to point out that that's where I must change. So instead of having that second cup of tea, we said, okay, I'm going to do this YouTube video just for that really reason of our podcast, because by changing a small habit, you can change the world.
Because we are here to learn actually too, you know, because just studying or reading something is not going to change anything till we implement it in our daily life, in our thought, in our action. And to become a habit, basically making a new habit that is going to be constructive habits, the way that we're looking at enjoying our life.
So the next couple of videos, we're going to continue our podcast, we're going to continue on this little conversation that we've been having about CALE, consistent and endless expansion of our universe and our soul. And I'm so excited about that. But then beyond that, we're going to talk about gratitude and a million other tools that we can do in order to grow our life and our prosperity and our businesses all the time. So we hope you are here to love you're enjoying this podcast.
And thank you to watching our podcast. This is the first episode of the 20 minutes. We are super grateful for all of you, and we love you wherever you are.
And if you have a comment, we would love to read the comment of maybe there is something we should be talking about that we didn't talk about here, and we would love to hear these concepts that you would like us to talk about.
And see you as Al and Victoria in the next episode of our podcast.